Shalom uvracha. It is Thursday afternoon, July 2nd, as we head into Parshat Hukkat Balak, a double parsha. This is an exciting week because a couple of things are happening. Number one, the Jewish people are becoming united this Shabbat in the sense that the diaspora is once again coming together with Eretz Yisrael, with Medinat Yisrael, with the state of Israel. We've been a week behind in Parshat HaShavua, and this week we all come together by the end of the laning, and from this point on we will be together in terms of the rest of Sefer Bamidbar and Sefer Dvarim. Number one. Number two, we also want to wish a special Mazel Tov to all our graduates. I hope everyone received the special gift of the cookies from the shul. We all are saddened that we're not able to come together in person and have a graduation kiddush, which is, of course, one of the special highlights of the year. And we miss it, and hopefully we'll be able to gather together for other smachot and other milestones in families and our shul's lives in the future, and hopefully it will be the near future. Also, this Shabbat is July 4th, Independence Day. We recognize and appreciate and value the birthday of our country and the great blessings that we've had as individuals, as community, as a nation, to grow up in the United States with the great freedoms and opportunities, as well as the promise of the idea of America, which certainly this year we've come to think about more deeply about some of the unfinished business of this country, of our great promise of democracy and equality and the pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and making sure that that's available to all of our citizens to take and reflect and think about the vestiges of racial inequality, of income inequality, of prejudice, of the things that unfortunately have sullied our history, but they're part of our history if we're honest. And America is a work in progress, like all of us are, and it's also aspirational. And so this July 4th, we think about what hopefully we can help our country fulfill its most cherished ideals of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution and the Emancipation Proclamation and the Gettysburg Address and all the wonderful foundational documents that give expression to our deepest values as Americans. So this Shabbat, the first parsha is Parshat Hukkat, and it's very strange, and I've spoken about this in the past, that the Torah chooses to place a very strange portion at the very beginning of our parasha. Up until this point, we've been on a narrative arc from Parshat Behalotcha, chapter 11, even chapter 10, 11, 12, 13. They've all been narratives of the first generation, the experience of moving away from Har Sinai, the first murmurings against God and Moses in the desert, the challenge of Miriam and Aaron to Moses' hegemony, the challenge of the Meraglim, of the scouts in chapter 13, 14, the mitzvot that emerged from that, chapter 16, 17, 18, the narrative of Korach, the rebellion, and the death and the plague in the aftermath of the rebellion. And then chapter 20, if we skip chapter 19, which opens the parsha, we have skipped over 38 years, and we're in the second generation. We confront the death of Aaron, the death of Miriam, and we are already towards the end. We have a second census. We have the Jews on the march in Transjordan, on the other side of the Jordan. They're ready to enter Eretz Yisrael. This is the second generation already. And the Torah, smack in the middle, between Parshat Korach and the narratives of the second generation, the war with Sichon and Og, and all those other stories, the Torah chooses to put directly the story, the laws of the red heifer. It's not actually a story, but the laws of Parah Adumah, which deal with the halachot of Tumat Mate, which deal with the laws of how one emerges from a status of ritual impurity, having contacted with a corpse, and coming back into the society, coming back, being able to enter the Beit HaMikdash through the ritual of the Parah Adumah. And it's very strange. Why is it here, of all places? In fact, as many of the Meforshim raise, it really belongs in Sefer Vayikra, in Parshat Tazria, Metzorah, in all the portions where we discuss Tumah v'Torah, we discuss ritual purity and impurity. It doesn't belong here, in the middle of the narrative arc. Why does the Torah choose to place it here? Now, on one level, you could say mechanically, well, in chapter 17, we had the description of the Mageifa, of the plague, in the aftermath of the rebellion of the Jewish people, in the Korach story, and the groups that rebelled. And so there was discussion, there were people who died, and so therefore there was a need to talk about the laws of Parah Adumah. But we know that there was death prior to this as well. We know that there was experiences, there was destruction beforehand as well. And yet, right after the Chet HaEgel, the story of the golden calf, the punishment of the golden calf, the 3,000 people who were killed, they also could have discussed the laws of Tumah v'Tohara and emerging from that status. And yet the Torah chooses to place it here. And Rabbi Soloveitchik, Zichrono Livracha, was very fond of noting this anomaly and really honed in on the Pshuto Shel Mikra, what I believe is the plain sense of the text, that the Bible specifically places, situates the laws of Tumah v'Tohara about emerging from the status of Tamei Lamed, of confrontation with death and dealing with death, dafka here between the first and the second generation. Because the Torah is silent on what occurs in those 38 years between the stories of the Meraglim and Korach and the story of the death of Aaron and Miriam in this week's Parsha in chapter 20, and the sin of Moses by which he loses leadership to enter the land of Israel. The Torah is silent because symbolically God is absent from the camp. The people are no longer going to enter the land of Israel. God is removed, as Chazal say, from direct communication with them. What they are doing is basically waiting. As God said, the first generation will die out, and then the second generation, your children, will enter the land of Israel. Between Perek Yudchet and Perek Chaf is simply a waiting period in which symbolically the Jewish people are going to wait. They're going to live their lives, but they're going to wait. Meitei Midbar, to use the language of the Midrash, they are those who are waiting until they finish their life, and then the second generation can emerge and overcome. And the Bible chooses dafka here to put the laws of Tumah v'Tahara, the laws of the red heifer, of the Parah Adumah, symbolically to state that after the Jewish people, for those many decades, confronted death, lived life, and then it's time. You don't simply wallow in death, but you can overcome that. And that's inherent in the laws of Shiva and Shloshim that so many have experienced, and we will experience, every person in their life. And that's the idea that we slowly reemerge. We confront death as a reality. We don't pretty it up. We don't make believe that it doesn't exist. And yet we then emerge from it, and we can return back into society and return back into the world of Kiddusha, the world of holiness. We can be mitaher, we can become pure again and live life again and overcome death and be able to forge further as a people, as a nation, as a family, and even on an individual level. And therefore it's placed specifically here to say, yes, they were confronting death, they were engaged in death, but they were going to be able to emerge, and that every person has a way out to be able to once again be tahor and enter the precincts of the sancta of Kedusha, of the Beit HaMikdash, of the Mishkan. For the last few months, many of us, and certainly those who are first responders amongst us, and some family members amongst us, have come to face to face with living in the valley of the shadow of death, Begates al Mavet. In the aftermath of the pandemic, we've had to confront death head on. We've had to confront mortality in a way that many of us didn't think about it. We've had to confront the humility that should be part of our essence as human beings, that science and medicine are not able, just like that, so easily, to confront this novel virus. We've been humbled and laid low, and we've had to confront death head on. And part of the message of the Paraduma is that it's a reality, but it's also something that we can overcome, that we will continue to emerge, that we will emerge from this and be able to return to a place of Kedusha. Even our, modern day prophets, oracles, Dr. Fauci and others of the CDC, they make it clear the pandemic will end. There is a lot of suffering and there's a lot of death, but it will end, just like all pandemics have ended. Hopefully we can end it sooner with finding a vaccine or treatments, therapeutic treatments, as soon as possible to help as many as possible. But we will emerge and we'll be able to return to a place of Kedusha. And that's the hope that we have, and that's part of the hope that emerges from reading Paraduma this week, Parshat Para. It's not Parshat Para, but the Parsha that we call Parshat Para, Paraduma this week. So I want to wish everybody a wonderful Shabbat, a pleasant Shabbat, a Shabbat of meaning and joy. Also, again, public service announcements. Want to encourage everyone, please make sure when you're outside near other people, social distancing, please keep it up. And please make sure to wear masks in public when you're near other people and with groups of people. Please make sure to be as safe as possible. And number two, I want to remind everyone this coming week is a primary. If you haven't voted by mail ballot and you have a mail ballot, please make sure to vote. And once again, please make sure to do your civic duty on this weekend of July 4th, and please fill out the questionnaire for the census, which is important to make sure that our state and our counties receive the proper resources to be able to handle everything that we need as a community. So I want to wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom, and those who I'm going to see in person on Shabbat, see in person, and those who won't, again, I want to encourage everyone in the community. We have a number of touchstones via Zoom that I would encourage everyone to please connect in some way. Our Kabbalat Shabbat, our Havdalah, our Shiurim. It's a wonderful thing to see people if you can't see them in person. And I want to connect with everybody as much as possible. And I want to wish everyone a Shabbat Shalom.